My name is Ethan. My life was shattered at the age of 5 when a devastating fire stole my parents from me, leaving me utterly alone. In one night of smoke and flames, I lost everything: my home, my security, and the two people whose arms were my entire world. After a somber funeral, I was sent to live with my uncle. He made it clear he didn't want me, sighing that he had no other option. With 3 sons of his own, I was just another burden, a phantom limb in a house already full. They assigned me to the attic, a desolate, cold space without a window or a heater. My bed was a thin, lumpy mattress on the floor. Every night the stairs would groan under an unseen weight, and the wind would whistle through the cracks in the walls, a lonely soundtrack to the tears I cried myself to sleep with. My cousins had warm beds, an abundance of toys, thick winter jackets, and even dessert after dinner. I had silence, cobwebs, and their worn-out hand-me-downs. They taunted me with cruel names, would shove my dinner plate away at the table, and constantly reminded me that I wasn't real family. I tried desperately to earn their affection, scrubbing floors and washing dishes, hoping a small act of service would soften their hearts. Instead, they just laughed at my efforts. They mocked my patched clothes, hid my shoes before school, and once locked me out of the house when I was late coming home. No one ever asked if I was hungry. No one ever checked if I'd done my homework. Their only desire was for me to be invisible. So I learned to be quiet. I made myself small. I clutched my books to my chest and held my hopes even tighter inside. At night, I devoured any reading material I could find, discarded newspapers, torn up novels, and old science magazines I salvaged from the trash. I had no toys, but I possessed an insatiable curiosity. I would lie in the dark and picture myself in a white coat, working in a hospital, making people feel whole again. At school, I was a different person. I sat in the front row, my hand always the first to shoot up. I answered every question and cherished the warm smiles my teachers gave me when they saw my eagerness. Other kids had shiny new shoes and colorful lunchboxes. I had a piece of bread wrapped in a paper napkin, but I never once uttered a word of complaint. One brutal winter, a fever took hold of me. I lay shivering in the attic for 3 days, completely alone. No one brought me a bowl of soup or even asked how I was feeling. I nursed myself back to health, wrapped in musty old blankets, whispering the stories my mother used to tell me. I clung to the memory of her voice, her gentle laugh, and how she called me her brave boy, even when we had nothing but our dreams. That memory became my guiding light, my silent reservoir of strength, the reason I kept pushing forward when the world had given up on me. At 12, I won my first science fair. My project was a simple model of the human heart, painstakingly crafted from cardboard. None of my family members came to see it, but my teacher, her eyes welling with tears, told me, "Ethan, you are going to change the world one day." I held on to her words like precious jewels. In the house I lived in, praise was a foreign currency, and belief was even rarer. My cousins just rolled their eyes, but their scorn only fueled my ambition. I kept building, kept learning, and allowed my dreams to grow bigger than the cold attic walls that confined me. When I turned 14, I got a weekend job at the local library, not for the money, but to be surrounded by books and tranquility. I read everything I could about medicine, anatomy, and pathology. I was fascinated by how the human body healed and how doctors could restore hope. The head librarian, a kind woman named Mrs. Peterson, noticed my passion. She began setting aside old medical textbooks for me in a small box under her desk. I studied them late into the night, huddled under my thin blanket with a flashlight, my heart racing with every page I turned. My daily routine was unforgiving. I'd wake up before dawn, meticulously fold my blanket, clean my small space, and walk to school. I carried my books in a flimsy plastic bag and kept my head down, offering a small smile to anyone who passed. On rainy days, I'd arrive soaked to the bone, but I never missed a single class, not even when I was sick. I sat in the front, scribbled notes furiously, and asked questions that the other students snickered. Meanwhile, my cousins started down a different path. They began skipping school, staying out all night, and getting into brawls. They'd stumble home, angry and loud, blaming everyone else for their problems and spitting insults at me. My uncle simply dismissed their behavior as boys will be boys, yet he would punish me if anything in the house was amiss. He never once acknowledged my straight A's or asked about my aspirations. He just told me to wash more dishes. But I refused to be broken. I studied through exhaustion and loneliness. Mrs. Peterson became my mentor, giving me more advanced books, helping me practice for public speaking, and sharing stories about real-life doctors. She told me I had a rare gift, not just intelligence, but a deep well of empathy, and urged me to protect it from bitterness. Her belief in me was the armor I needed. In high school, my wall in the attic became a collage of achievement. I won academic awards, published papers in student journals, and collected science club medals that no one in my house ever saw. I applied for a competitive summer internship at a major medical center, and to my astonishment, I was accepted after the interview. It was my first time inside a real hospital. I was in awe, watching the doctors and nurses move with purpose. I started at the bottom, cleaning floors and fetching coffee, never complaining. The chief of surgeon, a stern but observant man, took notice of me. He started giving me books, quizzing me, and teaching me about the art of medicine. "It's not just about knowledge, son," he told me. "It's about compassion, patience, and understanding a person's pain." I inscribed his words in my notebook and read them every single night. At 17, my life changed forever. I received a full scholarship to a prestigious university. I remember holding the acceptance letter, my hand trembling, as I walked into the kitchen to show my uncle. He stared at it for a long moment before grumbling, "Being a doctor costs a fortune." "We don't have that kind of money, so stop dreaming." I just offered a polite smile, walked back to my attic, and began packing my few belongings with a heart full of quiet, unshakable joy. Mrs. Peterson drove me to the city. As she dropped me off at the university gates, she pulled me into a hug that felt like a mother's embrace. "Now go change the world, Ethan," she whispered. "Show them what true strength looks like." I carried her words in my heart like a shield, knowing the path ahead would be arduous. But I was ready for the struggle, ready for the fight, ready to transform my scars into a legacy. College was a whirlwind of long hours, extra classes, and volunteering at free clinics on weekends. I met people from all walks of life, each with a unique story. I listened intently, taking notes on humanity, not just science, and I grew immensely as both a student and a person. I never forgot the attic, the silence, or the cold. My cousins, one by one, dropped out of school, fell into legal trouble, and blamed the world for their failures. I never took pleasure in their misfortune. I simply stayed on my path. At 22, I graduated at the top of my class with high honors. My uncle didn't attend the ceremony, but Mrs. Peterson was there, her proud tears speaking volumes. As I walked across the stage to accept my diploma, my hands shook, but my heart was full. For the first time, I felt truly seen. They called my name, and I thought of my parents, hoping they were watching, hoping they were proud. The boy from the attic was now a doctor, not by chance, but by sheer, unyielding will. And this was just the beginning. My first days as a medical resident were daunting. The other interns were confident, speaking in rapid-fire medical jargon. I remained quiet, observing, absorbing every detail, from complex procedures to the simple way a nurse would smile to ease a patient's fear. I documented everything. I practiced techniques on mannequins for hours and rehearsed patient conversations in the mirror. One afternoon, a patient with a weak voice called my name. His eyes were kind. He had no more visitors, he told me, and just wanted someone to talk to. I sat with him long after my shift ended, listening to stories about his life. The nurses noticed these small acts. One day, a veteran nurse simply smiled and said, "Thank you." Her simple gratitude moved me deeply, reminding me of a time when a single kind word could illuminate the darkness. I was learning that being a doctor was about more than just healing bodies. It was about tending to the human spirit. I began taking the lead in student rounds and was recognized for my meticulous care and deep connection with patients. When other students asked how I became so good so quickly, I'd just say, "I love to learn and I love to help." The real reason was etched into my past, forged in years of pain and quiet resilience. After a year, I received a small award for compassionate care, an honor that came directly from patient nominations. They said I made them feel safe and seen. That night, I wept in my small apartment, clutching the certificate like it was solid gold. Life moved on. My peers were building careers on loud ambition, but I remained steady, my progress slow but certain. I spent countless nights in the emergency room, learning to make life or death decisions in seconds. Witnessing raw human suffering every day shaped me more than any textbook. Sometimes, on my late-night walks home, I think of my cousins. They now sent me messages asking for money or medical advice. I helped where I could, never forgetting the gulf between the boy in the attic and the man I had become. Years passed. I completed my residency and was offered a position at a leading hospital. People now called me Dr. Ethan. Younger doctors sought my guidance, but I never let the title change who I was. I still cleaned my own workspace and thanked everyone, knowing that humility was the bedrock of my strength. My first solo surgery is a memory seared into my mind. My hands were steady, my focus absolute. In that moment, I thought of my mother and how she used to scrub floors just to feed me. I wished she could see me then, holding surgical tools, saving a life, fulfilling the dream she always had for me. At a city health conference, I was asked to share my story. Afterward, people approached me, their eyes filled with tears, telling me I had given them hope. A woman told me her son had given up on school, but after hearing my talk, wanted to try again. I felt a profound sense of purpose, as if my pain had finally been transmuted into a gift for others. I started working in underserved rural towns, opening clinics where no one else would go, and providing free care. The children there, with their quiet eyes, full of dreams and fear, reminded me of myself. "Never stop," I told them. "One day, your pain will be your greatest power." One evening, a young boy ran up to me as I was locking up the clinic. He handed me a crumpled note. It read, "Thank you, doctor, for saving my sister. I want to be you when I grow up." I tucked that note into my coat pocket, right next to a faded photo of my mother. In that moment, I knew I had become more than a doctor. I had become hope. The hospital where I worked continued to grow, and I was eventually promoted to a senior physician, leading a team of dedicated young doctors. We worked tirelessly, treating patients who came from all over, many of them poor and without family. I made it a point to sit with each one, to hear their story, to treat them with the dignity they deserved. One winter, a blizzard caused a massive power outage. The hospital went dark and cold. But my team remained calm. We used flashlights and worked by hand, cleaning wounds and comforting the scared. That night, a woman gave birth by lamplight, the nurses holding flashlights over her. She named her baby Ethan. She said I had saved her and made her feel like she had a family. I cried after she was discharged, remembering all the times I had been cold and alone with no one to hold my hand. Now I was the one providing the light. My reputation for compassionate care grew. I was invited to speak at universities and train doctors in other cities. I spoke not of fame or fortune, but of simple things: listening, staying late, and holding a hand. One day, I was summoned to the hospital director's office. He told me I had been selected for a prestigious humanitarian award, citing the mountains of letters he'd received from my patients. I was speechless, accepting the honor with a hand over my heart. The award didn't change me. I still arrived early, stayed late, and cleaned my own instruments. I saved my money, not for a fancy car or a big house, but for something meaningful. I bought a dilapidated building in the inner city and transformed it into a free clinic for impoverished children. It became a sanctuary of warmth, offering food, medical care, and rooms filled with books and colorful art. It was at the hospital that I met Sarah. She was a night shift nurse, quiet and gentle, but with an inner strength that I recognized immediately. We connected over late-night coffee, sharing stories of our difficult pasts. She cared about people, not prestige. Weeks turned into months, and her presence became a balm for my soul. I proposed to her in the small garden behind the clinic, surrounded by flowers the children had planted. She said yes through happy tears. We had a simple wedding, attended by close friends. Years flew by. Sarah and I continued our work with steady hearts. We adopted 2 little girls from the city orphanage, 2 quiet souls with big, searching eyes. In them, I saw myself, and I vowed to be the father I never had. Our home, once a distant dream, was now filled with books, laughter, and endless love. Now, when I stand at my window in the morning, holding a cup of tea, I see Sarah reading and our daughters playing on the floor. The warmth and peace of this life still feel like a miracle. My walk to the clinic is a joyous one, filled with greetings from neighbors and waves from children. Patients bring me small gifts, an apple, a hand-drawn picture. They are not just patients, they are my community. I often think about the old days, the hunger, the cold, the loneliness. My cousins now reach out, telling me how proud they are, conveniently forgetting how they once treated me. I forgave them long ago, not for them, but for me. Forgiveness unburdened my heart. I didn't need their validation. I just needed to build something good, something my mother would be proud of. I mentor new doctors now, teaching them that kindness is as crucial as any medical skill. I tell them my story, and I tell them that pain is not an ending, it is the beginning of a stronger road. I tell them that even when no one else believes in you, you must believe in yourself, and that your own light, no matter how small it seems, can be enough to illuminate the world. Some nights, I still dream of my mother. She smiles at me, her touch gentle on my face. I wake with tears, but also with a profound sense of peace. I whisper into the darkness, "I made it, Mom," and I know, somehow, she can hear me.